Awesome. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Friday. Um, it's great to see all of you. Today we have a fabulous artist, a good friend, Georgia from Australia, and it's great to have her. And we've had a little bit of issues with connections. I think we're probably past that. And Georgia's been a real trooper. Good to see you, Georgia.
Hi, John. Hi, everyone. Good day. Good morning. Hope everyone's well.
Hi, Georgia.
Going good. So Ethel, we're going to see some of Georgia's work.
Yes. So I'm gonna do a screen share. Oh, love that blue specs, Georgia.
I can't
So,
see anything.
um, we are presenting now. So I have a PowerPoint ready here. We'd love our friends to follow you on Instagram. This is Georgia's Instagram account. Go Georgie Girl. That's easy to remember. And then, of course, she's also on Facebook. So the next couple of slides here, Georgia, are some of your artworks. And our friends in both in Zoom and Facebook, of course, would love to hear a line or two for the artworks. Do you see this artwork now on your screen?
No, I don't. Sorry, it's just looking at me.
Okay, it's the gallery view. So I know you're using iPhone. It should be on the upper right button. I may need help from the likes of Letty and of course our dear John here. If you could guide Georgia on screen on her iPhone while
It's
on Zoom.
right by the sign in.
Okay,
In the box
I
with three dots.
actually can't see my phone because it's pointing down at the
Oh,
painting.
Okay.
So I'm looking at the iPad.
Okay. So from the iPad, do you see this artwork now?
No.
Maybe connect like swap.
I see everything.
Yeah.
Well, as long as you do, if you just tell me what it is, I know my paintings, so I'm happy to talk about them. I just can't see them.
It may be because you're pinned.
No.
I'm what?
No. It's
No,
a
it's okay.
painting of a tree, like with three big branch across situated in a beach with a very turquoise blue water and some in the background. Do you remember
Two
that
people.
painting?
Angela, could we just split screen for her? Could we just split screen for her? And she'd see both.
Okay, that's a good idea. So we can have two frames. Let me see.
Okay, I can see it now.
Oh, okay, great. Yeah.
Woo!
Awesome.
All
Okay.
right.
Over to you, Georgia.
This is a scene that is not too far from my home, and it's actually at Balmoral Beach, a lovely little spot on the coast. And I just saw these two mates chatting together, and I thought, oh, they're just, starting to explore life and just having a little chat with mates.
Okay.
That's it. This is actually a scene from our farm. So I used to travel down this road every single day of my life, whether I'm walking or driving or whatever. It's just actually makes me a bit homesick because I lived there for 25 years and I don't live there in the country anymore. So this is kind of special to me to look like to capture that forever, that was my view. This is painting in Provence, Saint-Remy. This is the Le Beau Castle, and it is where I will be teaching in April and May this year. And this little road, this little side road, you can only get to if you're a local. And my painting friend and organizer of the tour is a local, so I can get to all these really awesome places. And this was where Vincent painted his olive tree paintings, but it's magical to see the historic castle ruins in the background. These are just some really lovely peaches that had just the light was hitting them so beautifully. And I just want to try and capture the glow and the reflection. And yeah. These are some opium poppies that I grew in my garden out at Maji, where our vineyard was. And they just had so many beautiful, vibrant colors, and I just love trying to capture them. They used to sway in the wind, and the little seed heads would kind of wobble around, and they were just very graceful and elegant. I actually did this for a video. If you want to check that out on my website, I show you how to do this whole painting. Okay, these are some flowers that this is a technique that I teach with lifting off. And we paint, put on all these really bright, juicy, vibrant colors, like in a big splash. And then I cut out some stencils out of old x-rays, and I get a sponge, like a sea sponge, and I just start lifting off different shapes until it's something becomes evident. It's a little bit like sculpture. You're just kind of molding it and shaping it until it comes to life. And the thing I love about this technique is it really makes Daniel Smith shine, because there's no other watercolor that I've ever used that can lift off so beautifully and so cleanly. So the transparency, as you can see, makes the petals look like they push, pull, and turn the corner. So that's really a fun thing to do.
That's
okay,
the last
there's John.
Very nice.
Good night.
Okay. So, Georgia, we're about 15 minutes. So if you want to do an extra 15 minutes, that'd be fine. We'll just let people know that we'll post everything that you do today. But if you want to take an extra 15 minutes, by all means, please do so.
You mean to paint?
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's what I was hoping for. Normally, I would do a black and white with a sheet protector of my subject. This is my subject, by the way. It is, I will be teaching a workshop in Carmel in June this year. And this is a little place I like to go to in Pacific Grove. And when I'm out in the field, I use my phone camera to turn it into a black and white to get the values. And I try to break it down into light, mid-tone, and dark. So I'm not going to do all of this right now, but I just want to kind of highlight what I see is my light area is all of this. Do you see that? And then my darkest darks are here, here, and those are in the background. So they're going to be mid-tones. So mid-tones, this area is quite light as well. Anyway, this is the area of focus. And I just wanted you to be able to see that so that you know where I'm heading with this. So I'm going to have to put my reference there where you can't see it, but I can. So the first thing that I do is I use crackle paste and watercolor ground. So on the rocks, I really want them to have real texture. So I'm just going to use my palette knife and sort of really just go into my focal area and put on as much or as little crackle paste as I want to get the desired effect. Now, for the sake of timing, which we don't have a lot, I'm only going to just show you that little bit. I don't know if you can see it, but I have actually prepared one earlier, and I would use the Daniel Smith ground with my credit card, wherever that is.
The best use for a credit card.
Absolutely, Stella. That's what my husband always said to me as well. Oh, there it is. Okay. So this is a little bit trickier than using a palette knife, but it gives really good effect for foliage. So let's say I'm just going to put a little bit on my credit card like that. And then I might just get a little bit of it off and kind of spread it into a flat surface. And then can you see this? My hand is parallel to the paper. I'm just going to kind of round strokes, because that's going to be trees in the background. Just a gentle touch, just to kind of show that there's going to be texture there, but I don't want it to upstage the main focal point, which is actually the ice plant that is growing on these rocks in the sunlight. So I will actually remove this one now and go to the one that I did the other day, and it's dry. And this one should be easier for you to see. Can you see that? Because it's, yeah. I don't know if you can see the whole thing. But...
Yes.
Is it possible for you to turn your camera 90 degrees, your iPhone 90 degrees, so we can see on the whole frame of the video? No, that's the picture.
Bill?
Yes.
Bill, sorry, we tried doing it earlier, and that's actually one of the reasons why we started late. So it seems like there's a technical issue with the phone itself. It doesn't do the landscape, and it's like the make do for now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But yeah, we would love to have the landscape position, but yes, this is the frame that we're getting today. And Georgia's, of course, very patient, and she will do best.
I'm
mixing
my colors in these little porcelain dishes. So I'm just going to start off with the sky. I always work background, middle ground, foreground, coming forward from the top to the bottom. So I'm just mixing up a little bit of lavender, which John so kindly helped me to get Daniel Smith to create a lavender, because that was the only color that was non-Daniel Smith when I first started being an ambassador. And it was kind of embarrassing that I wasn't using all Daniel Smith. And he said, oh, I think we can do something about that. So thank you, John.
Oh yeah, people love it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's such a wonderful color for getting distance, and also just everything. It helps to key atmospheric. I'm gonna just tilt my painting a little bit. Does that affect you at all? I'm just gonna paint across. The sky is not the focal point, okay? It's there, but it's not really what I want to focus on. So I'll just kind of grab some of that paint and bring it across. Okay, we'll let gravity do its thing. I don't want to go back into that right now because it's very wet. One thing I want to say to people is that you should always have a kitchen sponge or a sponge of some description next to your water container, because, you know, we load our brush with water and paint, and then we rinse our brush. But the problem is we start to load it again with other paint, and it's got all the water from the previous load. And it becomes, when you actually put it down on your paper, it all comes running out, and we don't want that. So I'm just going to make a little bit of a green for the foliage, which is basically green gold and cobalt. And I'm going to mix in, obviously, some of that lavender to key it to the background. And that will make a really soft, fuzzy, foggy caramel kind of a feel about this. But so that one is ready to go. Now, while I've got the blue or the lavender in there, I'm going to add a little bit of cobalt into this, and I'm going to make a distant hill. So let me just move those out of the way. All right, I'm just going to go back up into the sky, and it has to have a little bit more body than what your sky had for it to stick. So we'll just put that background hill in. Right. Then the next thing that I want to do while I've got you here, and I'm letting that dry a little bit, I don't want that to go up into the sky too much, so I'll keep it on about a 30-degree angle. Sometimes when I have like a lot of splash in waves, I'll use a candle to get around some of the areas that create foam and just try to get that directional white part to preserve the white. I don't want to do too much because it's hard to see when you're working white on white, but clearly you can't use another color. So yeah, that will show up as a wax resist when I get ready to paint the water. But let's now come in onto, because that's wet, I want to leave that until, I don't want to paint the water yet because then they'll mix together and bleed. So I'm just going to get another brush. Sorry if my voice sounds broken, but I have like an echo of my own voice. So I'm kind of, it's hard to actually speak without hearing my own reverberation a few times. But anyway, technical issue, but we'll get through it. All right, so what is the focal area here? I feel like it's this 1/3 of the painting right here. So if I divide my painting into thirds, vertically and horizontally, where those lines intersect are where, like here, 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 and here are really good spots for a focal point. So I'm choosing this lower right quadrant as my focal area. So I want to get on, and when I do this, you'll be able to see where I've put the texture paste. And you can kind of see where I put the watercolor ground. It's making like a broken line, kind of like a lacy edge there, which I will go back in when that's dry and define the trees that are in the background. But I want it to dry first before I go there. But let's work on the, this is transparent red oxide and a little bit of pyrrole orange. Okay, that's a bit too much. How can I get, oh, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just keep going. So transparent red oxide and pyrrole orange. And I want it to be quite thin. It will be lighter because I'm going across the texture paste and it's very absorbent. So maybe that's a little bit, I want it to be a little bit more watery. All right. And then there's this Can you see how the texture paste, it kind of grabs? Is everybody seeing that?
Yeah, it's really cool.
All right, so I'll just do what I can see that's in the light. And this looks dark right now, but as we know, watercolor generally dries 2 tones lighter than when it's wet and juicy. And there's more rock over here.
Looks like if you move it just where your painting is center to your stomach, we'll see where your brush is. A little higher. No, higher. Yeah, the opposite. Yeah, it's backwards. So I think it's your left. If you move it just a hair left, we'll see where you're painting the rocks.
I can't go left because that's where the stand is
gotcha.
for the holder. Sorry.
Okay. No worries. We're fine.
Okay. All right. So I just want to establish the rocks and make it really solid down in here. And I'll probably put a little bit of yellow ochre mixed in with this to create some of these rock formations. Can you see that or no?
Yes. Yeah, now we can see. It's great.
Okay. All right. And I just want to vary my color a little bit. So I'm just going to add in a little bit of the yellow ochre, just so it's not all the same, right? Now, my drawing is quite loose, and I like it like that because that gives me a lot more freedom to freestyle it with paint, which I prefer, painting more loose. So now the next thing is the shine has gone off of my distant hills and trees and whatever. So I'm gonna now try and go in there and see if I can just sort of, sorry, did you say something?
No.
Okay. You don't want this to be too much water because that will make it bleed. We want to kind of dry brush it. So what I'd like to do is I get a lot of pigment on my brush. Where are you, brush? And then I use a paper towel or a sponge. And then I kind of like roll the brush in that sort of a way. And then we'll start to see some of those formations. That's a bit wet. Get a little bit more of the green. I don't want this to be the star of the show. It's the background, right? So we'll just kind of let those sit there in the background, and when they dry off, they'll look a little bit better. The other thing that you can do is with a flat brush, you can feed some of that burnt sienna or maybe the mix of yellow ochre and burnt sienna into the background, just so that you know that that rock is consistent in the background as well. It doesn't have to be like described. It's just kind of there. All right. Then I want to leave a line of paper, the white that goes across, so that that's the sea spray in the distance. So I'll just skip that little section and rock down to the next set of rocks and that headland there. So go back to my burnt sienna not burnt sienna, sorry. Transparent red oxide is what I actually prefer in Daniel Smith. So I like the transparency of it over burnt sienna. I like to work with the transparent color. So these rocks that are in the background are, and the actual, gosh, it's hard hearing my voice reverberate. I'm going to add a little bit of raw umber into this mix so that I can get a little bit more definition, because these rocks are going to need a little bit more. And it's okay to do like a dry brush skip at this stage, because we're going to work back into these. And I'm fine with this merging because it's in the background. And what we're doing is we're going to keep layering on top of these. So we want to make sure that they're sitting down. All right, so there's that headline. Now I'm going to bring forward the next rock formation, or the little headland thing. And I'm going to make it darker. So as we come forward, we're making it warmer and darker. Does that make sense? Because it's closer to us. So I'm adding more of the raw umber, and I need to make sure that we're on the same page with color harmony. So I'm adding a little bit of that in with the ones that I've already done. There's a little rock out there. And then I'm going to start on these darker rocks. And we'll just keep going forward. You can see the texture picking up. Can you?
Yes, it's lovely.
Okay, and I'm just going to add a little bit of the indanthrone in there. Actually, that's not indanthrone. That's neutral tint, sorry. Just to get the edge and make sure that these rocks really sit down, because we want them to be, they're solid, you know, they're rocks. So we want them to really feel solid. All right, and I'm going to put a little bit of this dark in here. We're going to come back in over all of this with the green, but I want to put a little bit of the that previous mix of the yellow ochre and transparent red oxide in here, so that your eye reads that this is all made from the same kind of rock. Okay. When that's dry, I can go back in and overlap those tree forms. Right now it's too wet, so I'll keep moving forward. We'll do the water totally last, and then we'll add all of the nice, beautiful rose madder, permanent and opera sort of ice plants. All right, let's keep going with the rock. So it comes in to here. There's rock here. These ones are wet rocks, so they're going to be darker than the ones that are on land because they're wet. So I'll just add in a little bit more dark to anchor them.
Georgia?
Yes.
If I think you can get rid of the echo if you turn the volume down totally of your phone.
Okay.
Because you're speaking through the iPad, right?
Yes.
Or muted.
Is that better? It's actually, I can still hear myself. It doesn't matter. I will just keep going. I don't want to waste time with all that other stuff. Let's just paint. All right. I want to get in some of these darks that are down here in the foreground. So this makes sense to create that color harmony that we like. If you use the same colors that you've used in other parts of your painting, you will get automatic color harmony. And this is actually going to be the shadow for the ice plants. So I just want to make sure that I get those in. And I don't know if you can tell, but you know what would have been really good? I didn't squeeze it out for this demo, but it would have been also excellent is using lunar black, because that would have created even more settling and, you know, texture where the pigment settles. See how it's going into the cracks there? I can kind of go in there with a little bit of dark to make that look a little bit more realistic. Anyway, it's still quite wet, so I don't really want to go too far there. There are some rocks over here. I don't know if you can even see this, if it's off the page or not, but these are, again, wet rocks. So I'll just feed through some of that color. And another rock. These darker rocks help me to lead your eye in to the focal point. They act as kind of like an arrow that goes, look over here, look over here, look over here. So that's what I'm always looking for, trying to find things that create a good composition and design. So right now we're getting there. Let's go with, I don't think we're going to have time to finish, but I'm going to try and just show you what it looks like with the greenery and what's the other thing? It's hard to talk and paint at the same time, as you know. So the greenery up close in this area is going to be warmer green. It's going to be more cocky rather than the green back here. Now, this is a little too wet for me to go into it, but I just want to get it on there to show you the difference in color, temperature. This is a cooler green. Obviously, it's way too wet, but see the difference between, I don't know, can you even see that? Anyway, you can't. All right, let me turn my page so that I can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to paint sideways then. Okay, so this is a bluer, cooler green. Agreed?
Yes.
Okay, and I just want to kind of establish that. It's too wet to really be painting in that department right now, but I just want to show that this green that's coming forward is going to be warmer, and there's spaces where the ice plant's going to be. So let me just get some clean water because I want a clean pink. So let's change positions for the water.
Beautiful shapes, Georgia.
Thank you, Stella. Lovely to have your support. Okay, so now I'm going to go into rose madder and opera pink to make a really juicy ice plant color. And I will add some quinacridone magenta in the shadow to create a little bit of dark. So see how I'm just kind of tapping? I want this to feel like it's growing randomly and attaching to the rocks. So it's coming down right down into there. And I want it to mix and meander with the green. And then I can use my little fine mist sprayer has to be fine mist to just activate that a little bit. And that will make it run and mix and mingle. So keeping on that theme, I need to have a little bit of dark underpinning this to make it really effective. So let me just grab a bit more of I'm mixing up the green gold with the neutral tint to give me a rich, warm, dark green, which I want to be like a drop shadow for all of this that's coming up. That area is rock. Let some of the rock show through. Now we have to wait for that to dry before we can add the second layer. But while that's drying, we can go back in and do other things like we can get a finer brush and do some little drawing in paint in the background because that area is a little bit drier now. Can you still see?
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Just maneuvering my dishes so that I can reach them. Okay, so back here in this background, we need a little bit more definition. So I think I'm going to go in with Indanthrone because that's quite a nice dark. And where's my little dish? Here it is. I moved it out of the way. When you mix orange and blue together, you get a really beautiful neutral dark. So that was the transparent red oxide and the, what did I just say? Neutral tint.
Indanthrone blue.
Indanthrone, sorry. Orange and blue. What am I talking about? Yes, orange and blue. Okay, so I'm just going to see how wet and dry this is. If it bleeds out too much, then I need to wait a little bit longer because I want those to be a little bit crisper lines to show a little bit more definition. So in my situation, it's very humid here, so I have to allow for that. And you can go in and test it like I did just then, and I can see it's still too wet. But what you can see is all of that watercolor ground that I put on with the credit card is starting to create some tree shapes, the canopy of the trees. Now, one thing I can do at this stage is I can actually go in with my palette knife and pull out some little branches or trunks. There's quite a few trees in this area. And this is just scraping in, basically. Now, you can obviously paint that dark with the paintbrush if you want to do some other ones to make them not all the same. I don't want them too dark though because they are in the background. So if you get them too dark, just wipe some back. I'm just trying to put in a little bit, just indicate. I'm just trying to like let people know that there's other stuff going on in the background. It's not important, but it is there. So yeah, I'll just do that. Now it's starting to get drier. That's okay. All right, so I don't want to fiddle too much because I want to keep my shapes big for as long as I can. And at the very end, I can go back in and add all of the little details and calligraphy that makes it my painting. But while this other stuff is quite wet right now, what I can do is I can mix up some water color, play on words. Yeah, so the ocean is often more into the dark green out or dark blue out to sea. And as it comes closer to the shore, it gets lighter in blue and it starts to shift to green. So I'm going to try and mix up a color that I think will work for this. So I'm going to start with Indanthrone Blue because, oops, that's not it. That's one of my favorite colors. And let's try that again. Oh, what am I mixing here? There we go. You probably can't even see my mixing, but here's Indanthrone Blue, very juicy. In the distance, I'm going to add a little bit of the cobalt to make it lighter. Can you see that? Because it's further away. And I'm just going to sort of remember that there's a line of sea spray at the back. So I'm just going to dry brush skip. See those little sparkles? I want that to look like sunlight hitting the water. Okay, we can go back in and sort of work on the sea spray on some of these rocks, but we want to leave a little bit of light around them. Now, one of the other things I want to say to people is that I almost never use phthalo, but I do use it for ocean. I do use it for water. So if I grab a little bit of that, you can see that it's very strong. It's super strong because it's a synthetic color. But I like to get a little bit of that somewhere in there so that later when I get down to the lighter, softer stuff, it has color harmony. So I'll just sort of put a little bit in there for now, and I'll come back to that later. Right now, I just need to get in the deeper ocean tones. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have questions? I feel like I'm rushing, but I know that we don't have a lot of time.
There
So
was a question about
yeah.
the paper you're using and the size of the brushes.
Okay, so this one is a Kolinsky Sable 10. It's from the Georgia Mansur series by Rosemary & Co. And it's just a beautiful weight for, it's kind of my go-to brush. It's the one that I prefer to work with. Just because it can do pretty much anything you ask of it. All right, now.
What about paper? Is it cold pressed?
Yes, I'm using I'm using Saunders. Let me show you. Can you see that one?
Okay, yeah, the pad, yeah.
Yeah, 300 gram. And this is a 12 by 16 piece. Okay, so now I want to go back in with my phthalo and water to indicate that it's getting more shallow. Can you see that? As it comes closer to shore.
This phthalo blue
Georgia, which
and
phthalo
copper?
do you prefer?
Sorry, I didn't get any of that. You broke right up. Say it again.
Is that phthalo blue and adding copper?
Which phthalo do you prefer?
I use phthalo turquoise.
Ah.
Yeah. If you look on my sheet of all my colors, it's phthalo turquoise and it's fully transparent. So I can do a lot of things with it that make it really a versatile color to have. And while this is wet, I'm just going to go back in and add a little bit more of as it comes closer.
So your dot cards, we can find them in Daniel Smith's website. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I encourage you to do so. It's there's 16 colors, and I don't know if you can see, but where I've used the wax, I'm getting a little bit of resist. And this is a rough paper, so it's going to kind of jump and bounce off of the paper, which I like. I like to see the sparkles and the dry brushing. So we'll just keep going. This is a bit deeper out to sea. I need to get around that edge because that's not a splash, that's just meeting up with that rock. But you can see where I'm adding in a little bit of the dark that goes into the light. Bring it all the way to the back. And if I do my brush, I can kind of get up closer into there. Bob Wade was famous for using his hands, using his finger to, if he made a little mistake, he'd just kind of blur it out so it wasn't so obvious. As long as you don't have like moisturizer or lotion on your hands, you're good. Because we don't want our paper to resist from the lotion. Okay, I probably got enough going on there. Oh, I need to bring in some more of this sand. So we'll just add a little bit more sand down in here. And just,
I have a quick question for you.
yes.
Do you ever have a concern with getting wax from your paper onto your brushes and damaging your brushes? Thank you.
Good question. I haven't experienced that. I guess because it's a hard wax and it's just going like into the pigment of the paper. I feel like it hasn't affected my brushes. At least I haven't noticed it. Why, have you ever had that? Has anybody ever experienced that?
I'm wondering if I'm experiencing it now, but it may have to do with the candle that I chose. Thank you.
Okay. I'm trying to go into this area now. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a lot of foliage in here. It's very wet, and I'm apologize to you for painting into this wet area before it's really time, but I kind of feel the pressure of getting something done to show you what I'm doing and like trying to cover all the areas of where I would be painting. I've lost a little bit of that dark for my drop shadow, so I need to go back in and reinforce. I'm just trying to get a little bit of depth and texture into this area. And I'll do the same thing with my rocks, because what happens with the texture paste and the watercolor ground is it absorbs the water from the brush, and it means that it stays wet for longer than it would if it was just paint. But I love the effects that you can get with it. So when I'm in the field, I usually just go for a little walk. When I'm teaching, I just go check up on my students and see how they're going, answer any questions. Then when I come back, I can address it. But I think the main thing is to just get the structure down and indicate where you're going with it. You need to have these rocks to feel really anchored. So they really need to be darker at the bottom. And you can just dry brush a little bit of that dark, and the paint will pick up in all the places where I put the paste on. And I can just sort of like indicate that that's rock. Let's go a little bit more with the warm. Remember, it gets warmer as it gets closer to us. So I want to maintain that.
Georgia, how
Yes.
color more or less is the darker tone that you put on the front rocks?
Are we talking in value?
No, color. Is it one color, single color, or a mix with?
Okay, so I'm actually using that original mixture of transparent red oxide and the yellow ochre. And then I've added a little bit of the neutral tintin to give it a little bit more depth. And I'm making the mixture now thicker. So more creamy paint.
Mhm.
Can you see that? It's less watery
Yes.
because I need it to feel solid. But I don't want to lose the light and transparency of the original light because this is where the light comes through. So I might just go back through there with a little bit of the yellow ochre to create that pattern of light. Can you see that?
Yes.
Just intensify this color a little bit through this band of light. Okay. Now, the really fun part is actually, putting on all of the ice plant, but right now it's just way too wet. If I did that, I'll just get like a big blurry mess. So I have to work somewhere else on my painting. So I see a couple of places where I can go back in and define while I'm waiting. So let's kind of define some of these rocks. Are you seeing that? I just want to create a little bit of strength so that these rocks have 3 dimension. I kind of
Georgia, there's a couple questions, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Lucy wants to know, what's the humidity like where you live? And do you feel like your paper stays damp longer than other places? And do you use a hair dryer ever?
Short answer is I live in a climate that's sort of similar to Hawaii, if you're familiar with that climate. But we have about 9 months of summer or nice weather, and we have about 3 months of winter. So, by the way, while I'm talking, I'm putting in some of these textural calligraphy, but I don't want them to be too dominant because it's in the distance. So back to your question. Painting plein air, obviously you can't have a hairdryer. So I prefer to paint plein air than in the studio, just me personally, if I'm painting for myself. And I like teaching in plein air because you're out there with Mother Nature, and Mother Nature is always going to be the best teacher. You don't have to keep looking at a photo reference. It's right there. Everything that you need is right there in front of you, and you have immediate access to it all. So what I do with painting outdoors is, like I said, I just go for a little walk. And if you can train yourself to stop, and I have a little thing when I'm teaching where I say to my students, every 8 minutes, like set a little timer on your phone or whatever, if you can't remember, step away from your painting, get about 10-20 feet away from it and see how is it tracking? Is it reading or not? Like if you can't read it from that far away, that means you haven't got your values right. So you need to go in and develop some of those values to a greater degree so that it reads properly. Now I'm strengthening some of the background trees, but like I said, I'm gonna use my finger to just soften them off because I don't want them all the same. There's nothing worse than a bunch of trees that look like a bunch of soldiers in a row. I often will turn my brush on its side to get that wispy sort of a feel. And I don't know, it just seems to help. But I don't want them too distinct on the edges. They need to be kind of lacy. That background back there is kind of boring, but that's the idea. You know, you want the star of your show to be in the focal point. You're going to have your lightest lights against your darkest darks, your sharpest edges in the focal point, your contrast. So in this case, in this scenario, orange and blue are opposites on the color wheel, right? So that means I want to have my blue and my orange or variations thereof close together so that this area really pops in the focal point. So what I can do now while this is still very wet is I'm just going to go back in and get a little bit more of my darks because this area is really light through here. But for that to even pop more, I need to create a lot more dark in the foreground. So how do you do that? You actually just mix your paint more thickly, so less water and more paint, right? That's what I want to do. So it sticks a bit better than before. I'm kind of sculpting a little bit. And what I've done here is within the texture paste with my palette knife, while it was wet, I scraped into it so that there would be some situations where it really picked up the pigment. It drops down into those cracks, if you will. Now this light area will really pop if I put my darkest dark next to it. Can you see that? Or you can't even see that, can you? See how dark I'm going down in here? I really need for this to be quite dark for all of this area to read as light. It's actually quite wet here, so I don't want to, ruin the painting for the sake of time, but I hope that you can get an idea of where I'm going with it. Now, this area here is just like a big green blob. There's lots of things that I can do when that's dry. One of the things is I can use my eradicator brushes, which is a really fine, like razor blade flat that's quite short and stiff, and I can lift off with that brush. Any stiff brush will do, but you want to make sure that you get some of the sunlight that's underneath, because if you remember, I painted that green gold underneath that. So if I lift off that top layer of the dark green, then that sunlight will be like shining on those trees. So that's one thing that I can do later. I can't really do that now. If I can show you what the difference would be is if I took a paper towel and just kind of blotted this back, you might get a little bit of an interesting thing, but it won't be as interesting as it will be if you lift it off completely. Well, not completely, but on the highlights, I should say. So I'll let some of that just kind of breathe there for a little bit. And then I can go back into that later. How are we doing on time? It feels like it's been going like for 3 hours.
We're over. That's okay.
We don't mind that.
That's about
Georgia, are you left-handed?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Left-footed, but not left-handed. Well, there's not a whole lot more I can do right now while it's so wet. The only thing I really can do is go back in with maybe some of that nice phthalo turquoise color and indicate, some of the little, how they have like lots of little foamy eddies and things that are going on in the wash. Just doing that kind of gives it a little bit more structure.
Yeah, that's nice.
Georgia, what did
yes.
what did you use for your grains?
I used for the distant greens, I used indanthrone blue with green gold, and then I added in quite a lot of cobalt because I wanted that to be cooler in the background, because everything that is far away is going to be cooler and grayer. And I just, used more water than pigment in the background. And then for the greens coming forward, so as I came forward, I kept warming it up. So all of these greens, and I can actually go in and put some more of those in, I guess. Some of these greens that are just kind of draping over the rocks, that's green gold, and it's got a little bit of the indanthrone blue to strengthen it. But I want the greens that are up close to be very fresh and warm, because it's the closest to us, right? So it's really important that you have the greens that are coming forward warmer. Now, I'm just putting in a little bit of fresh. Yes?
When the painting is dry, you will finish it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Could you post it on the social so that we can share it? That would be lovely.
Yeah, happy to do that.
You have done a marvelous job in such little time for the technical difficulties.
Oh, thank you.
Everyone commenting on what a good teacher you are and what a beautiful result you have. So everybody happy.
Thank you so much. I really feel honored that I can paint with you and share some of my techniques and process with you. And I apologize for all the technical difficulties, but I haven't had coffee yet, so.
If you pick up the picture, the painting in front of you, we'd be able to see the whole thing.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You mean like vertical?
No, take it and put
it in front of your, right under your chin. No.
Vertical.
No, right, like you were showing a picture to someone, like you were on the wall. You're the wall,
vertical.
but the painting.
Just hold it.
If I did that, all the paint will run off. Okay, I'll do it sideways, because if it runs off this
because
direction.
it's still wet.
So wet, yeah.
Okay. We'll get to see it on her socials. We'll just.
It's beautiful.
Sorry, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll have to finish it offline, but thank you for the opportunity, and it's lovely to see you as always, John.
Always good to see you too, Georgia.
Good done, Marie. Beautiful painting she did.
Nice job, Anne-Marie.
Good job, Anne-Marie.
We have one more, Anna Candela.
Yeah. Oh, look at that.
Great.
Wow, so much better than mine.
Oh, no.
Diane as well.
Oh
Wow.
my gosh.
Look at you guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Woo-hoo.
Good
I
job.
love seeing that, because I get
Beautiful work.
Well done.
I actually prefer to teach in person and see you as you're painting along, like, at each stage of the process, and give you tips along the way on your specific painting. But that's really impossible doing a Zoom. So I love seeing what you've done here, and maybe you don't need my help.
Thanks for being a
Yes,
great teacher and for managing so many tech issues today. You did amazing.
Oh my gosh.
and
Thank
for
you.
being so early without coffee. That's really
Yeah, I'm
You
hanging
are-
out for that coffee now, let me tell you.
You're wonderful.
the clocks are changing, so we'll see
Double
you.
espresso.
Where do you
Yes.
get that coffee going? Wow.
Oh, there's
Great
Andrew.
instruction.
Yeah.
Your inspiration,
Thank you, Georgia.
Thank you,
you.
Georgia.
Thank you, Georgia.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, everybody.
Georgia.
Great
Thank
seeing
you.
all
Thank
of
you
you.
so
A wonderful
much.
See you.
weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.